We have some questions from the audience. First of all, this is to Dr. Hunter regarding superior oblique weakening, and others, I suppose, if they'd like to answer.
Yes, please.
Why not recess the superior oblique using Vicryl? For example, like a hangback and adjustable. Why add Merceline or silicone?
Yes, a superior oblique recession is certainly an option. It's not one that I've used, but I have considered it. I think the one dimension of that is that it is technically a little bit harder to get back there and get the sutures in just the right place if you want to really mimic the path of the superior oblique muscle. I mean, it's doable, but I don't object to it, but you know, I don't have enough experience doing it myself to be able to comment further.
I assume that would be for adults too, I mean, and older children. I was just curious, anyone else want to comment on that?
David, I have done a small number of your Merceline chicken suture non-adjustable recessions, and I have re-explored them when they failed, and I found that all just ended up as one big scarred mess. Have you had any patients like that?
I really have not seen that happen. I have not seen the failure, and I can think of one case that I didn't do where there was a lot of inflammation post-op, and it was an issue where they went in shortly after surgery, but that was this sort of idiosyncratic intensive post-op inflammation. But at least the way that I do it and the way that you saw it, I have not had to go back, and I have not seen undercorrections, which is what people talk about. Do you do a superior oblique recession then? As one of the
I have done the superior oblique recession from the insertion.
Yes.
And I find that that tends to give a great day one result, and they tend to undercorrect. For the last decade, I've been doing a Z tenotomy, suturing the ends with 10-0 nylon, which is a little bit of a challenge sometimes with a loop, especially as I get older.
I think a Z tenotomy is going to be discussed later today in one of the afternoon sessions as well.
Dr. Jafar, there was a question about this copyrighted whiteboard. Could you explain more what that is? Since lots of people have whiteboards, they didn't realize there was a copyright infringement.
The copyright is essentially for the extraocular muscle surgery. This is copyrighted by David Coates and his colleague at Texas Children's. So essentially, having said that, you can still order it online, and if you are interested, please write to me, email me, or David Coates, and we'll be happy to give you the link or where you can print it. It's $130 or something like that.
So the eyes are printed on the whiteboard?
The eyes are printed, so after you finish your surgery with whatever you wrote with black marker, you erase it, and the whiteboard is ready for the next patient.
I like how you do that with your, to come up with a surgical plan, but how do you involve trainees in that process?
Trainees many a time write that blue form for me, okay, but it is me who really have to go over it from A to Z, and I fill it in on the day the surgery is decided upon. I mean, this is really where you have all the information you need. The patient might have been seen 2 or 3 times or maybe 10 times, so this is really when you have analyzed the whole history and made the best decision. Write it down. You don't have to struggle on the day of surgery and figure out what needs to be done.
We have something similar where we expect the trainees to show up with their own version of that form filled out, because my instruction to them is, what if I don't show up for surgery, but the patient says, well, gee, Dr. So-and-so, we like you so much, we want you to do the surgery anyway. So I want them to be ready to move forward with their own plan, have that form filled out.
That's very good, but our trainees are not supposed to do the surgery without the attending.
Oh, I know, they're just supposed,
I'm
yes.
just kidding, yeah. But I think it's a very good question, Scott. I think the trainees should be taught how to come up with their surgical plan.
I think we have time for one more question. Any general advice on doing strabismus surgery on patients with scleral buckles? That would be for anyone.
I'll start by referring the patient somewhere else, but you know, once if the eye itself is very restricted, many a time you really have to look and do your best on the restricted eye with the scleral buckle. But if you've tried this and it doesn't work, I really wouldn't cause more harm and more trauma, and I wouldn't hesitate suggesting surgery on the other eye.
Yeah, I mean, certainly surgery on the other eye is great if you can get they're one of the hardest group of patients to convince to get to operate on the other eye because they clearly have a strong preference for the one eye. And then the just releasing whatever is tight, and then and also the muscle can become quite adherent to the buckle, so you have to, you know, it just takes a lot of extra time to sort of separate that out. And what I have found is that because the muscle sticks so densely to that silicone band, I don't worry too much about hanging it back over and on top of the muscle, though I know that others disagree. But you can hang it back and let it sit on top of the muscle, just as long as nobody decides to go back and remove the buckle later.
Do you use non-absorbable sutures at that time?
No, I don't. I just use an absorbable suture, and because it really sticks down.
David, I like that too. Yeah, just using Vicryl and through the buckle, hanging it back from the buckle even.
Oh, passing the sutures through the buckle and hanging it back from there? Yeah, so it's all okay, and then there is a lot of controversy about whether removing the buckle does anything. In my experience, I have not seen removing the buckle be helpful for strabismus, certainly not by the time they get to me.
Okay, that's all the time we have. Thank you very much to all the speakers for sharing your wisdom and experience.
Say it again.